Hi everyone, this is Miss Holden. Today we are going to be talking about a couple more nonfiction text features. Today we're going to look at the text features of a map. And here on my screen you'll see that I have the text called Amazing Antarctica. On this book, you will learn about Antarctica and the continent of it and how there are many different interesting features as well as life that live here. Now, the text feature I want us to look at in this book is a map. Here we have an example of a map. This map has the entire globe, actually. It tells us that these are the 7 continents, and they are all labeled with a number. We see number 1 is North America, and that's where we're at, right over here. Another way that we can see that this is a map is that it has something called a compass rose. A compass rose is where you have the letters N, S, W, E. N stands for north, S is for south, W is for west, and east. E is for east. As well as you can see the land formations, as well as the blue, which is the water. You're right. And then lastly, you have down here, the book is about Antarctica. So that's number 7. We can see it's down here at the bottom of the earth. As we flip a little bit further, we have another example of a map, again with a compass rose, a label or a title at the top that tells us that this is of Antarctica. So if you were to look at the bottom of the earth, this is what it would look like. Here it's labeled that this is the South Pole. You have the 3 different oceans that surround it, the South Pacific Ocean, South Atlantic Ocean, as well as the Indian Ocean. And then a couple other landforms or features of Antarctica. So we again have 2 examples of a map here. A map shows us where the book is either where it's taking place, such as like where certain animals will live in the world or in a country, as well as where maybe a country is, such as, a continent like Antarctica. So, and then as we flip through, we see more photographs. Again, this is a nonfiction text. Now, our next text feature I want us to look at is in a book called Hermit Crabs. Now, in Hermit Crabs, we're going to look at a text feature that is a diagram. Now, I know that if any of you have ever been to the beach, you've probably been in a store and seen these little guys for sale with their cute little shells, sometimes painted. And I know if you're anything like me, that you loved going into the store and checking them out. Well, they're very interesting little hermit crabs. Now, here we have, what do hermit crabs look like? That's our heading. And then further down, you have an illustration, but it is a factual, realistic looking illustration. In this illustration, we see a hermit crab without its shell. And in this illustration, you have arrows and labels that are pointing to the different parts of the hermit crab. This text feature is called a diagram. Yes, a diagram is an illustration that has different labels that show you the different parts of whether it be an animal, a plant, a country, whatever it may be. This is showing us the different parts of it. So this is very interesting because we get to see the hermit crab without his shell, and we get to see that these are the long legs that we will usually see. Usually you see his antenna, his larger antenna, and then his claws. How interesting. I love the claws. But then you don't always see as much some of these shorter legs that are for holding the shell. So he's got these that help him to walk, but that the diagram also helps us to understand, oh, okay, so he has shorter legs that are inside the shell, and that's what's holding the shell on him or around him. And then down here, again, this part we do not see, but this is the soft lower body with no exoskeleton for protection. And if you've ever done any research, also this text tells us what an exoskeleton is. But an exoskeleton is simply a skeleton like our bones, but on the outside. And it's a harder outer casing that is to protect it. But as it tells here in the text, we learn that this soft part is inside the shell because it needs to be protected. So the diagram in this text helps us to understand the text better by giving us a visual to look at. So today you've learned about captions as well. You've learned about maps as well as diagrams. Stay tuned, we'll talk more later in the week about other text features.